so
Gentlemen,
very good. So
3 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome to our first panel on Society 5.0 4AR Global Digital Transformation Day. We are talking and starting with the panel Digital Transformation Society 5.0 4AR, how to make it happen for cities and countries. And I'm privileged to have a fantastic panel here. And I'm going to read a bit of the bio. So we have His Excellency Saifuddin Abdullah, the Minister of Communications of Malaysia. That will be the first, we're going to present a video from him. Then we have Syed Junaid Imam, member of IT and from the Ministry of IT and Communications from Pakistan, and as well the CEO of the Digital Transformation Unit that I'm going to present. Then His Excellency Oleksandr Bornyakov, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation for IT and Development of Ukraine, and Dr. Edwin Diender, Vice President of Digital Transformation for Huawei, but as well thought leader on his own in these areas of digital transformation and working with a lot of countries. So I want to start with a small bios because we have amazing bios here. So Dato Saifuddin bin Abdullah is the Malaysian politician and Minister of Communications and Multimedia and member of the Parliament for Indera Mangkota, and he's also member of the ruling Pakatan Harapan coalition, and has as well been working and creating a lot of solutions and actually pushing the concept Malaysia 5.0 that we have as well in a panel that is mostly looking at the ideas of transforming Malaysia's society to become a more digital economy, and as well looking at solutions on these areas, especially when it comes to optical fiber cable manufacturing, digital of the FTTH network, optical transmission backbone in private sector, and all the active different areas of experience in the country. And then in terms of the areas of the second speaker, so Syed Junaid Imam is the member of IT for the Ministry of IT and Telecom of Pakistan, and as well as the CEO of Ignite National Technology Fund for Pakistan. Junaid has an academic background in the field of electronic engineer with over 23 years of broad-based experience in the field of IT and telecom, and he has done some pioneering work in Pakistan in the field of embedded system development, optical network design. Management consultancy in Europe, and early in his career has been associated with research and development organizations in the public sector. So welcome. Then we have Oleksandr Bornyakov. Oleksandr has received the first degree in marketing Kiev National Aviation University in 2004. Then he continued his studies in the University of New Brunswick in Canada and received an MBA in 2009. In 2019, he graduated from Columbia Business University of New York with a Master of Public Administration degree. At the age of 26, he founded Ad Intelligent, a video ad monetization platform. And Oleksandr is also an entrepreneur and co-owner of Intersog, an international software outsourcing company. Of course, right now, leading the technology and digital transformation for Ukraine, which is a country very powerful in software development and different areas. And as well has been Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation since 2019. Then, last but not least, Edwin Diender. So a researcher is actually with an MBA in international business and marketing and a PhD in the areas of business economics and sustainable business models. Edwin is considered a thought leader and blue ocean strategist for both Huawei enterprise, but as well been working with the global government business units and as well leading digital transformation for the one of the leading corporations in the world, but as well is a thought leader on his own with a lot of essays and papers published all over the world. So I think we have a great panel. I'll let you go in a while to talk. I appreciate and I'm grateful to have you all here. So I will start with the first video. The Minister of Communications on Malaysia sent us a video. So I'm going to share my screen. So just give me a second. And we're going to start with him. And I think the questions I ask him to answer is how Malaysia is looking at digital transformation. What are the challenges they're looking when it comes to new technologies and emerging technologies? And how is Malaysia being prepared for all the challenges that come out of these areas? And as well, the concept of Malaysia 5.0. So he's been talking for 6 minutes around these topics. So I'm going to put the video and I'll share right now. So I think we have an issue with the sound. So I'm going to take my earphones. So sorry to see if you can actually hear the sound. And I'll start again. So apologize.
Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses were hesitant to invest in digital technologies as they felt that their long-term productivity gains may not compensate for the high initial cost in acquiring advanced technologies. SMEs, especially in East Malaysia, had to face digital adoption challenges, mainly due to the inadequate infrastructure, resulting in issues relating to connectivity and quality of internet access. To alleviate the effects of the global pandemic and to encourage more digitally skilled Malaysians and digitally powered businesses, the government has implemented an economic growth plan consisting of both fiscal and policy measures called the National Economic Recovery Plan, or in short, PENJANA, the National Digital Infrastructure Plan, or in short, JENDELA, and the recent National 4IR Council here, the socio-economic development of the country through the use of advanced technologies. Malaysia's culture of openness and the critical discussion around the implications of digital transformation require us to support technology that enables people and creates genuine value to them. We're also asking ourselves, what can we do to live in the kind of world that the technology we are building can serve and enable us? Our policies and standards include strategies that, number one, adhere to a set of United Nations Sustainable Goals, the SDG 2030, EU AI Alliance, and universal principles that guide our technological and business strategy decisions. Number two, invest in building technology that promotes responsible data usage and management. Number three, employ and empower a team of privacy and civil liberties researchers, technologies, and engineers. Number four, work with leading global think tanks and universities. And number five, engage with independent experts in privacy law, policy, and ethics. In fact, in a way, the COVID-19 pandemic has emerged as a game changer for digital transformation. The Ministry of Communications and Multimedia Malaysia, through its agency, i.e. the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, or MDEC, is leading the country's digital economy forward by focusing on creating inclusive and high-quality growth through the nationwide digitalization initiatives that are in line with the government's Shared Prosperity Vision 2030 and our goal to firmly establish Malaysia as the heart of digital ASEAN. In order to accelerate Malaysia's digital economy nationwide and in the region, the ministry, together with MDEC, is stimulating digital adoption within SMEs in a wide array of business sectors. This initiative includes, among others, Digital Accelerator virtual platform. The platform helps SMEs gain access to available programs, incentives, and technology solutions that best match their specific digitalization needs. And SME Digital Acceleration Program, which is a business transformation accelerator program that digitally empowers businesses, namely by providing a structured approach to adopt digital with outcome-based results. And then there is the Smart Automation Grant, which is a matching grant for services companies that help automate their business processes and move towards digitalization. The purpose of this grant is to help them kickstart the development and implementation of projects that drive the adoption of technologies to automate business operations. And we have the SME Digital Quick Wins, which is a platform that focuses on facilitating the process of connecting technology solution providers with SMEs to properly tackle and overcome the challenges that these businesses face with digital by implementation free or discounted digital solutions. And then there is this e-Usahawan, i.e. a platform that provides courses that impart digital entrepreneurship values and knowledge to micro, rural, and youth entrepreneurs to foster income generation and increase sales at the broader national level. The Malaysian SME Master Plan 2012-2020 endorsed 8 measures to further boost SMEs' GDP annual growth, and they are namely intensify digitalization of SMEs, enhance SMEs integration in the supply chain, increase support to more SMEs with high growth through relevant incentives, increase SMEs' readiness and competitiveness in adoption of innovative, disruptive, compelling technology and business model, facilitate alternative financing for SMEs, recoup external SMEs' value chain into the country to drive growth, strengthen uptake, and promote export of homegrown payment gateway and fintech by SMEs, and enhance SMEs' participation in the tourism industry. Finally, premised on the National Entrepreneurship Framework, or the NEF, which is in parallel with the 8 measures for SME, the National Entrepreneurship Policy, the NEP, has been formulated to bring about a comprehensive, inclusive, and holistic entrepreneurship ecosystem for SMEs in the country.
So I think we have a great ambitious strategy for Malaysia, and legal disclaimer, I'm partly involved, but I think it's a great program. And as the minister mentioned, there's an ambition to try to focus on the SMEs and all the strategy of innovation related to that, which I think it's a great way to go. So I would like to go right now to Syed Junaid Imam, member of IT from the Pakistan Minister of IT and Technology, and as well an expert in these areas. So welcome to our panel. And I would like to more or less listen about some of the things and opportunities. I know Pakistan is a big country with a huge population, very young, and a huge amount of SMEs as well. For instance, Malaysia is around 1 million SMEs. You have around probably 4 to 5 million. So it's quite a big number. So I would like to hear a bit how you are tackling these subjects and as well your vision to the country. Your sound, you have to take the mute, please.
Thank you, Dinis. Good morning, everyone. As you mentioned, Pakistan has a large population, over 220 million, 5th largest in the world. And 60% of our population is youth. But if you look at our GDP per capita, it's less than 1,500. So we understand that the potential we have, the numbers of per capita income and other indicators do not reflect the true potential that we have. So, and we also at the same time realize that if we want to utilize our youth and the human capital that we have to transform Pakistan digitally. And we have to shift to a knowledge-based economy where we can use our human capital to the best of their potential. So realizing this fact, Government of Pakistan developed a vision for transforming Pakistan digitally. And for this transformation, we had, looking at our challenges, we had 5 or 6 pillars that we have identified that we have to work on if we want to transform Pakistan digitally. And the first one is accessibility. And we have a challenge here in Pakistan. Our current broadband penetration is around 40%. So 60% of our population does not have access to the broadband. So in order to transform digitally, accessibility is the key. So we are focusing on providing the broadband penetration to the rural areas. We have challenges there. Pakistan is a poor country, and in the rural areas, the business case is not there for the operators to go. So we are building different schemes, subsidizing the operators to go into the rural areas so that the 60% of the population can be brought onto the network. So that's one aspect that we are working on. The second one is the HR development. With relatively low literacy rate, we understand that's another focus area. We have to improve our literacy level, and then we have to impart technical skills into our human capital so that we can use them to develop new applications, new services, adopt new technologies. So HR development, it's one of our focus areas in which we have initiated different schemes. We are providing digital skills to our citizens free of cost. And at the same time, we are also having programs to impart trainings in the emerging technology area as well. So that's one aspect we are focusing on. The third pillar that we have is R&D and innovation. I think we have a key focus on innovation in Pakistan. We have initiated many incubators, accelerators. We are funding startups as well because we believe that we can transform our country with tech interventions. So, and for those interventions, the focus on the innovation and promoting the youth, that's the key focus area of the government. So innovation and R&D is one focus area. And then e-governance. We have had challenges in the past of the governance, and I think economic prosperity has a direct linkage with the governance as well. And we believe that adopting digital technologies in governance will bring transparency and efficiency in the governance. So one focus area of the government is to transform the basic and all infrastructure and model of governance to e-governance. So that's a focus area. And then another aspect is financial inclusion. We still have a lot of cash transaction in the country, and to document the economy and to make these services available to every nick and corner of the country, we believe that financial inclusion is necessary. And again, the infrastructure, that's one important part. Then on top of it, we need to have regulations, policies where we facilitate the masses and the companies, businesses, government to transform to online activity, bring everything in the ambit of law and document everything. So that's financial inclusion again. It's an important aspect that we are working. And then we have a focus area on software and other development as well. If we look at Pakistan, currently we have a very ideal scenario where our bulk of our population is in the rural areas, where we have lack of services in terms of medical, health, education, agriculture. And in the urban areas, we have infrastructure infrastructure, we have experts, we have technologies in these areas. So it's an ideal situation for us that once we are establishing the connectivity between the two, the demand is there in the rural areas, the supply is there in the urban areas. So we just have to connect the two, and we have a very good business case for providing services and these tech companies to use digital infrastructure to provide services. That's a very key focus area for the government. If we look at our yields as far as agriculture is concerned, it's really poor. And if we look at the health services to the rural areas, again, we have challenges there. So this is a broad area, and we are promoting these areas to the foreign investors as well, because there are many low-hanging fruits in these areas with a minimum of investment and pitching it right. We can have a win-win situation both for the investors and for the government, for the service, for the citizens, where they can get cheap, good quality services at economical rates, and at the same time, government will fulfill its obligation of providing basic services. The businesses will get their fair share of revenues out of it. So we see a win-win situation for all the stakeholders once we transform it into a digital economy altogether. We are facing some challenges as well. I think in a developing country, change management is an issue. People generally have resistance to change. So that's one focus area for us to work on. And then collaboration and partnerships between different stakeholders, government and private sector. We believe that if we have to successfully transform, and this cannot be done primarily by the government itself, there has to be a good public-private partnership model established, and the private sector should have confidence and a good working relationship with the government, so that we can exploit the opportunities out there in the country for both businesses and for the government itself. So that's one focus area that we are working on, and that's the key. So overall, we see we have a long way to go as far as our digital transformation journey is concerned, but we have put ourselves on the right track, and with the provision of right interventions and with collaboration of all the stakeholders, we can see that we can get good benefits out of the new technologies and can work for the citizen of Pakistan. And we look forward to such forums, and we are collaborating with other countries who have advanced in digital transformation, who have achieved some successes. So we are also collaborating with them to learn from their experiences and adopt it according to the domestic needs. So overall, we see a good future ahead in this era, and once we transform ourselves to a knowledge-based economy, we see that for the people of Pakistan and in a global community, we can contribute good. So with this, I would thank you, Dinis, and look forward to any questions. Thank you.
No, very, very important. And I think it's important, like you said, it's massive population, is a country very powerful, and a lot of young population. We really need that. And I think that's why we're doing this event, and hopefully we can actually get more ideas. So Oleksandr, I would like to pass to you. So understand, I know Ukraine is a very powerful country in terms of software and technology, but in terms of the country, what are your work and what are your initiatives on this area?
Well, yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. And I would like permission to share my screen. I mean, share the presentation.
Yeah, I think, yeah, done.
And I think you can see it, right?
Yes, it's already live.
Let me do a
the view.
Yeah. So yeah, so Ukraine is a pretty big country, and we have a lot of ex-USSR legacy in terms of bureaucratic, and that's why our Ministry of it's called Ministry of Digital Transformation, because our goal is kind of transform the whole economy to digital economy. And I'm going to tell you how we've been making this, what are the goals of the ministry, so you'll see by yourself. So actually, our ministry was formed like a year ago. So it's brand new ministry. It has never existed before, and it's solely responsible for transforming all the relationship between citizen and government. With its 4C IT industry in Ukraine, which you mentioned is really powerful, and I'm going to talk about this later. We also have created recently, a year ago, a parliament committee. It's also called Digital Transformation Committee in the Parliament, with the deputies who were in charge of legislation and of certain things that we need in order to digitally to be transformed. And also, we started appointing the roles which we call Chief Digital Transformation Officers across Ukraine. Just want to mention that Ukraine is 35 million people, 40 million people, and with their like 6 major, more than 1 million cities, and we're on the west, we border with Poland, and on the east with Russia. So we're a pretty big country. When ministry was just created, we specified the goals, and we divided on the 4 parts. So the first part is make 100% of the government services available online for all citizens. Then, of course, my colleague from Pakistan mentioned this, and I also can say that we have a similar problem. There's a problem with infrastructure. We have a lot of rural areas in Ukraine too, and we also want to cover it with broadband, high-speed internet. So that's another thing that we do as a ministry. Another goal is, of course, to teach people digital skills, because if you move all the services online and you give them access to infrastructure, but they don't know how to use smartphone, what's the point? So that's another thing that we do. And the last goal, which I'm responsible for personally, is increase share of IT in Ukrainian GDP up to 10%. Right now, it's between 4 and 5%. So it's actually double income from high technology export and high technology production. So those goals are, but we're ambitious, and we started from moving basic papers into the smartphone. We created mobile app, and this mobile app allowed people to keep their driver license, their passport, their birth certificate of their children, car insurance, car titles, all in smartphones. So, and it was tremendous success. In a couple of months, we reached just 4 million people downloaded our app and started to use it. So now you can actually create a business online in Ukraine. You don't need to drag along all the papers with you anymore. So you can internally use internal flights without any papers in your pocket. And it's really became a most popular app for all the time in Ukraine since we got our independence more than 20 years ago. Recently, we also enabled like document sharing. So you can basically share the copy of your passport in a digital form with any entity that requires your identification. So you come to your entity, they ask like your confirmation of your entity, you take your smartphone, then you just pass your digital copy of your passport, they get it, they scan it, they scan the QR code on your smartphone, and they get your digital copy of your ID. So this is the major project that we do in the ministry, and we have huge plans going ahead. So one of them is in the year, next September 2021, we aim to completely get rid of the papers in Ukraine. So in a year, no one from the government side will be allowed to ask paper from the citizens. So this is our goal, and we going to make it. I mentioned that besides application, we have created a portal with the government services, and for instance, you can open a business. One of the great things that we finally implemented is when a mother delivers a baby, you don't have to go anywhere else. In 20 minutes, you can get all the paperwork on your infant, including insurance, state help, even his tax ID number, everything in 20 minutes. Before, you had to go to 20 different institutions for like a couple of months. So this was done in just less than a year. And I just want to point out that we don't digitalize current bureaucracy. We completely redefine the experience in interaction with government. Optimize procedures, get rid of their bureaucracy, and make it very simple and transparent. Some of their services, for instance, we have construction permits. So if you want to build something, you have to get construction permits. So we make it available online, and we completely eliminated human factor. So there is no government representative anymore. So this is completely done automatically. And many other things. So and for IT industry, I just want to give you some insights on digital skills, and then I'm going to talk about what we propose to IT industry. So we created a national online platform where we make educational lessons for the people of Ukraine, and they and already more than 266,000 people use this platform. They look on those videos, and we created lessons so you can actually test your skills, and then we issue a certificate. If you pass all the exams and the skills online, we issue certificates that your digital skill level is appropriate to use government services online. We created a business project, which is a national platform for entrepreneurs, how to start the business, how to conduct business, how to get the help from the government. And we continue to establish offline representative of this project, because people want to come and see by themselves. But of course, COVID situation slightly slowing us, but not completely, we're not completely stopping. About digital economy. We came up with a project called DSCD, is a free virtual economic zone. So it's a kind of it's a technology, sort of a virtual technology park. So you don't have to go to a specific place. You just register, and you get tax discounts. You get certain protection from the government, and like British law, for example. And this is not live yet, but we are in process of creating. Another thing that we also decided to go on is with cryptocurrencies, virtual assets. Ukraine is going to create conditions to launch and develop virtual assets, so it will be totally legal to use them. We also came up with the artificial intelligence concept and strategy, and on the official government level. And the last thing, but not least, it's electronic residency, which is basically opportunity to people from around the world not open a business in Ukraine, but not visiting Ukraine actually. I think I'm going to stop here, and I think because I did my time. So thank you, and I hope this was insightful.
No, well, congratulations. I think it's great to be in these events to understand how innovative all of your countries are doing. And I think especially it's really important, and seeing what you're doing and actually promoting it worldwide. And I think we need much more of these initiatives. So I'll pass the word for the last keynote speaker. So Edwin, you have been working with a lot of countries and a lot of cutting edge technologies. I would like to have your opinion, probably more on the personal and research level, but I think as well in the corporate head.
Sure, and thanks for the opportunity to not so much share knowledge, perhaps. I think for today it's more important to compare notes, because all of us in our past have been taking notes in all these different meetings and all these different initiatives. So comparing notes would probably be more interesting to do. But we're virtually, so that means we have to turn our notebooks around and let you have a look at all the things that we've written down. I'd like to follow a three-step approach in the coming 10 minutes, if you don't mind. And these are based on the inputs that were provided up front before we've joined this session. One of the things that we've asked to put our head around, or to get our head around for, is what are the biggest challenges that we are facing when it comes to digital transformation and to the respective society? What are those biggest challenges? And I think the previous speakers have addressed those for their respective countries pretty well. I'd like to applaud each of them, including His Excellency from Malaysia, for a very simple thing. And that simple thing sits with having an initiative or having a drive to take things by the hand or move things higher up a value chain. We hear that from the speaker from Pakistan. We clearly see that in the programs and the initiatives that are in place and that move Ukraine, certainly in a shorter time frame, much higher up the value chain than if it were not digital. But His Excellency from Malaysia also mentioned that there is a digital agenda. And the good thing that I think, so not a challenge, but the good thing that I hear in all the speakers coming back is that they do this because it fits society, and society means people. So it's for people. I really love the example of giving birth to a child and then having to go through different agencies and institutions offline, independently. They don't share information, versus maybe even on the birth bed, as mom is holding the baby, probably dad is a bit overwhelmed by all these emotions, so probably wants to put his mind on something else. Very good, dad. Take a computer, take your tablet, and register your young-born child with everything on it and for it and with it. I think these are very clear examples where the people are involved. So a challenge today for digital transformation sits with not having the okay, not having the involvement, and probably also not having the understanding of the people that it is for. A second challenge, I think, and some of the speakers addressed that briefly, is that most systems that are supporting us today are sitting in silos. They are verticalized, they are inward looking, they are proprietary sometimes. If it is a digital stovepipe or a digital information system or a digital version of systems and services, then it's not linked to anything. It only supports the department that has been deployed for. So a second challenge that slows digital transformation down and doesn't bring it up the level where it can be, or I'm not saying where it should be, but where it can be, is that information stovepipes are slowing it down. And that brings me to the third point. It also sits with regulations. The amount of paper trail, red tape, bureaucracy, as Mr. Alex from the Ukraine mentioned, where he, I think, again, applauding you, greatly says, let's jump a curve, as Guy Kawasaki would say, for disruptive innovations. Let's not innovate and let's not drive and digitalize what we already have. Let's just jump one or two curves, create a very good thought process, have a good vision, and then digitalize whatever can be digitalized from that standpoint, and not digitalize bureaucracy. If you don't mind, sir, I would like to use that in my next keynote speech, that we should not use or not do digitalization of bureaucracy. I love that. Because that's also where it sits. The amount of organizations and also countries and government services that are still depending on a person in office that needs to go to the office, because at home, it's probably not allowed to sign off paperwork. Someone really has to go to an office, has to go through paperwork, just like you see presidents sometimes for ceremonial purposes see their signature written down on a piece of paper or on an amendment or what have you, but that really is the case. So if there is a digital initiative, if there is an initiative and a program that says, let's take this piece of a city and let's try to move that higher up the value chain, let's digitalize specific services, then that is a decision that can be taken very fast. A program team can be established quite swiftly, but then the sign-off requires someone with authority to really, take a paper and take a pen and put the signature on a piece of paper. Sometimes these approval processes on paper are more than a quarter, more than 2 quarters sometimes. So by the time the approval is through the process and the program team has to start or can start or budget is released, new initiatives are available, new technology is invented. The existing technology where the approval was needing for is overruled or became obsolete already, because it's just like buying computers in the computer store right now for children who need a computer for their homework. If daddy says, okay, it's Saturday, I got the day off, let's go downtown, let's do some shopping, and let's get you a computer for your homework. The moment you buy it, you got a computer that's probably already a 1-year-old version. You're getting updates and upgrades that are a quarter behind, and that's for a student computer, which should be the best. So technology usually is behind. So if the paper trail does the same, doesn't go further, then what do we and what do countries do? So what countries are doing, I think we've heard from the previous speaker very, very well, how and what they do to embark on this process, to embark on this journey, and to improve the pieces. Because one of my mottos is technology should allow us to do better what we already do best. I think that would be the main purpose for technology to do, and anything else I would debate that's not good technology if it's not doing that. But that's a side note. But the second part sits with, if there is technology available, like a platform, for example, a digital platform or a technology platform, or maybe the principle of a platform that can overlay and that can bridge these different information silos, that speaks perhaps the different machine languages and the different software version languages of all these different systems that already are out there, and that can overlay it and that can bridge them and can leverage, then that would be a good starting point as a foundation to move forward from. So your step 0 would be to overlay the information systems and to break down the silos. And step 1 would be, what is the first program to deploy? What is the next initiative to go forward with? And line that up, maybe not as a roadmap, but maybe as a travel guide, because digital transformation, as far as I'm concerned, is a journey. And that brings me to where we are as an organization. We put in place systems and services, platforms and ecosystems. So platform and ecosystems combined to help our partners and our customers with their digital journey. Part of my job is actually to help our customers and our partners with their digital journey. And the principle of a platform is usually what we take as a first step. A platform that can speak these different languages and that can incorporate perhaps the new ideas as we go forward in the digital transformation process. And last but not least, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody speaks about second wave or third wave. I was not aware that the first wave already was gone, actually. To me, it's a pandemic, and the pandemic is there, whether it goes up and down here and there, but it's not solved yet. So what are the implications to organizations? What are the implications to the journey of digital transformation? I think, and I have to say this, unfortunately, the pandemic has speed up, I think, parts of this digital journey, which we didn't anticipate. For example, the guideline at some point was we close office and we all start to work from home. That means that my home office, which maybe did not exist, had to be established. My kitchen table where I used to check my email now becomes my office table in my own kitchen. My children have to go to school, but they go to school online. So remote learning is taking place in the same space. Maybe my life partner has other businesses going forward. So all of a sudden, as a family and as roommates and as sharing the same household members, we are confronted with working from home. Most homes are not designed for that. So that's a challenge number 1. Challenge number 2, the connectivity, and it was mentioned before as well by the previous speakers. The connectivity in a home is not fully utilized to work from home. Certainly not for everyone in the home to work from home. Maybe 1 or maybe 1.2 person can use it. So the burden on global and mobile infrastructures to be upgraded, to be utilized, to be also transformed and able to cope with this additional burden for a longer time, where all these mobile networks and global networks were not designed for, is another challenge. And the last challenge, I think, with COVID is, how do we circle back if we want to circle back, or how do we go back to the regular office? How do we go away from work from home to work in the office again? I think also there we will find new challenges, because the existing challenge in existing office environments is we need to have flex desks, sit where you like, use the device of your choice, regardless of your location, technology agnostic, the high performance workspace, the knowledge worker workspace, open office space. I think that were all implemented to create an office space that fits society as it is, or as it was. Because after the pandemic, when we go back to the office, I think an open office space is not going to cut it anymore. We need to get these cubicles back, I guess, because we want to create some distance, but also not much. I recall many, many times when I'm in the office that if I want to have some information from my colleague or my peer, I would just go to him or her and I would ask. I would go to the desk or I would go to their office. I think right now, if we would go back to the office again, another challenge would be, can I send a message just like I do right now? Say, hey, are you available? And then there's a chat or an instant message coming back, say, yeah, sure. So it will be Zoom meetings in the office instead of between offices. It will be Zoom meetings between your colleague who maybe sits 2 doors down the hall because of social distancing. And another thing which I think sits with a mental challenge, we are not really very well designed as human beings to go through all these changes too much. And that creates a burden mentally speaking, so to speak. I think we are not having as a society enough attention. And I think we cannot have enough attention, but we should have also as leaders, as business owners, as governments, as society, to not only tell each other, stay healthy and stay safe, but I think stay sane is a part in our vocabulary that we have to incorporate and that we have to be careful about, because things like burnouts, people who just don't deal with things the way they were supposed to, or they thought they could, but because of the distancing are not visible anymore. As a team leader, you cannot see how your team is doing if the whole team works from home. You have to find another way to get your head around, how is my team doing? And maybe I should get some guidelines in a mechanism or in a framework that says, this is the rule for today. We're not going to do after 6 p.m. meetings anymore. You have to turn around from your kitchen table and you got to watch your family members and you have to have your dinner. Because in a digital world, where everything is with Zoom meetings and what have you, it is very easy to say yes to every question because you don't hear much. If you're in an office environment, there's a lot of people around, you have a coffee break, you know what goes on in the different departments, you can anticipate, you are involved and informed. But if you work from home, you're not. So the more questions you're getting from colleagues saying, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Probably gets your calendar filled up with activities too much. And we have to find our place to rest. So stay healthy, stay safe, and stay sane should be something that from a digital point of view, we should perhaps, or could perhaps also incorporate into being more prone to what our challenges are, how platforms and systems and services allow us to create environments where we have a keen eye for that and where we are able to evolve and step out of it and move out of it and progress to create a better society as we already have.
Thank you, Edwin. So a lot of points to put on the top of the things. So from, and of course, like you mentioned, there's mental health care, but as well cybersecurity. And of course, we have a panel about governments and cities. And for instance, all of us probably are right now streaming from home or from places that are close to that. So it's not an easy challenge as well. So one of the things I would like to highlight, so from the notes of the Minister of Malaysia, there's a big ambition to make the country digital first. And there's a lot of things they're doing on that direction of creating Malaysia 5.0, as well as Syed, Junaid. I think you mentioned a lot, and I would like probably the first question to you. So Pakistan is a country right now with a new government and a lot of challenges, but as well a lot of opportunities. Like you mentioned, a very young population, a huge population as well, and a huge potential for growing the economy. So these parts of the digital transformation can actually enable the country to create new business models, new solutions, but as well comes with a lot of different things. So in terms of the things you mentioned, let's say, what would be the things that you are right now prioritizing? And let's say for international organizations and people like us that are looking at Pakistan, what would be your note for these people looking at the country from outside in terms of these areas?
Okay, I think one of the key area is our G2C part. We have lagged in the past providing services to citizens, but we firmly believe with the use of technology, I think we can fundamentally improve on this. And like I mentioned, health, education, agriculture, in these segments, there is big rooms. So we are now making policies and we are facilitating tech companies to come to this business area and invest, and they will get their returns, and the government will get the required services to the citizen. I think related to this is our startup ecosystem. Like I mentioned, we have big gaps in service delivery in Pakistan. So right now, there are a lot of small companies coming in where they have niche markets in this different segments, and what they are just doing, connecting demand and supply. I think that's the communication, that the lack of communication in the past, our infrastructure, that has created a gap between the demand and supply. So I think connecting the two will create a lot of businesses. And at the same time, like our rural parts, 60% of our population is in rural areas. They don't have access to the international markets. There are good skilled people there. There are a lot of different range of products that are being made in the rural areas. And I think platforms, already local platforms have capitalized on it, and they are bringing them on online platforms where they can be marketed. But what we see, there are some international players also coming into this business area where they are leveraging these local businesses as well, and tapping to those unique products, unique services that are untapped areas are providing. So it's creating good business for them. So I think our startup ecosystem is now flourishing, and there is a lot of opportunities for international investors to tap into it and get benefit out of it. So I think that's the area which is open for the investors.
No, thank you so much. And then, Alex, in terms of the work of Ukraine, and I think you guys have a very ambitious program, and of course, like you mentioned, and I like Edwin highlighted, the idea of not digitalizing bureaucracy, I think is a very good, powerful thing, because unfortunately, we tend to bring to the digital twin age all these years that we have in the real. So how are you coping? Because you have definitely one of the biggest software development capacity in the world. Are you as well leveraging this? And for instance, you mentioned as well the international capacity for international investors to have a relationship, and international even partners to have a direct relationship with Ukraine without even having to go there. Can you explain a bit that right now?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I heard. Can you explain? And then you.
Yeah, so I will repeat. So I was saying, well, see, I'm in London, but London internet is not the best. But I was saying that in terms of you mentioned the program that you're doing for international organizations and companies and even investors to have a presence in Ukraine and collaborate with Ukraine even without needing to be there. That is quite a very bold move, and I think very important with COVID-19. For instance, I have a lot of negotiations with countries that if I'm not going there, it's difficult to do anything, and we cannot stop. The world cannot stop. So I would like to highlight that. I think it's a good example, and probably you need to promote that better international, because it's a big thing as well.
Yeah, of course. Well, we do have plans to promote it. Right now, we did all the job on the legislation level, because of course it's requiring a lot of things to change. For example, one of the things is how to open bank account online. So we spent a lot of time with their bank regulator, with the National Bank of Ukraine. So they changed a lot of procedures, and finally they made it. So now, if you want to open bank account in Ukraine, in Ukrainian bank, you can use remote identification procedures. It is not allowed before. And but still, we need to come up with a technical platform. And now this is what we do, and I think it was going to be the first quarter next year when we release the platform. Basically, what we offer is just you go on the website, you first you install Smart ID. We call it Smart ID. So it's Smart ID. It's basically an application that allow you to use electronic signature. So you register, you apply your electronic signature. We remotely assign you a tax identification number. So it's a unique number that identifies you as a taxpayer in Ukraine. Once you got this number, you're able to, so you got a confirmation after, let's say, 3 days, you got a confirmation. And after, once you got a confirmation that tax ID number is assigned, you can open two sort of businesses. First, it's like you can be registered as a private entrepreneur and pay 5% like turnover revenue tax. We call it unified tax. So 5% from all you got in your bank account. Or you can open another type of entity, which is basically a limited liability company, and become a subject for 18% income tax, which we want to make 2 times less. So we now speaking with Minister of Finance to decrease it to 9%. So and once you register this entity, you're able to, we'll give you a couple of banks as an options. So you can go, you can online apply for bank account. And if everything is fine, you have a bank account attached to your entity. And then we allow you to, once you start connecting business, inside this portal, so it's on the website, once you started conducting business, you'll be able to kind of see tax reports. You can combine tax and come up with create the tax reports and send them remotely, because of course our tax administration will want to have some reporting too. So that's basically a very quick explanation of the workflow. And as I mentioned before, it will be available in the first quarter of next year.
Well, congratulations! I think it's a great initiative, and I think every country should follow. So I think definitely I would like probably if you could send some links for us to promote, because I think it's really important. So I'm conscious that we're passing 1 hour now. So Edwin, just probably a last question for you. So you're working with a lot of governments, and without going to the corporate part. So what would be the biggest challenge you have with the countries you're working, especially, and a lot of the things we're talking here?
Well, without being too specific, usually when you work with governments, you have to deal with politics. So that's, I wouldn't say that's a challenge, that's a given. And, you know, each country has their own different set of politics and governance. So navigating and being able to link and create and keep momentum between all stakeholders is an item to just bear in mind. What I also think is very admirable is that each government that I've been working with, as I mentioned in my speech, do have a digital agenda. And some of these digital agendas are just comprised, are at the early stage of being completed. But the majority of those digital agendas are actually quite complete, quite substantial, and do take things from a bigger picture, looking at a further place beyond the horizon as a point to go forward to, and use that as a direction, and then create travel guides and not roadmaps to move forward. The last thing that I think I can say about this is also processes and also ways forwards are still in the current comfort zone, so to speak. What I mean by that is there are still public tenders, there are still RFPs, there are still projects to be done, and there are still budgets to be assigned. In my view, that is the old economy way of thinking and going forward that really fits a physical version of an economy, the digital economy. And I'm sure Mr. Alex from Ukraine, but also the previous speakers can confirm that from their point of view and their ways of looking at it and their ways of being confronted with challenges. Having a digital economy requires a digital way of processes, and probably programs and initiatives fit better, and funding and financing fits better than having a budget that needs to cover a cost, or that creates or that works with a price, rather than values and benefits, which is where the digital economy is more active in. So bridging these two worlds, probably the principle of a digital twin that you mentioned in your introduction would not be a bad idea, might even be the thing to put in place as something that can bridge both physical and digital, to at least understand it and to be more predictive and to provide inputs and alignments as we go forward. Because today, all the principles of physical and the physical economy, I think it fits a bit with what Mr. Alex said, where they don't want to digitalize bureaucracy. I think it comes in that same corner, or it sits in that same corner of thinking, I guess, a physical economy, and then taking principles out of it and trying to apply it as an approval process or a project team or a project going forward for digital transformation. There is so many mismatches in that you're working longer in trying to make it match than that it actually serves its purpose, which is move higher up the value chain in a shorter time frame. So I think that's what we can say about that.
I think we ran out of time, but I would still like you guys, if possible, to get a bit of 1 or 2 minutes about each of you about the biggest challenge. I think, Syed, you mentioned about fintech and financial inclusion, as well the rurality versus the macros in Pakistan. Alex, you mentioned a lot of innovative things. So from the outside countries and people that can actually invest or at least engage with the Ukrainian economy. So what would be like, let's say, for someone listening to us, and we have people from all over the world, and a lot of these videos will be streamed much after this event and reach probably thousands of people, even millions going forward. So one of the things I would like to know is, let's say, from Pakistan perspective, which is an emerging economy, although it's a powerhouse, but as well with a lot of challenges. To you, Alex, which is a country as well with a lot of power in some areas, but as well, people from outside might be afraid of a lot of different things. And as well, Edwin, from your level of both working for a Chinese global multinational, but as well you being Dutch and as well a citizen of the world, which I think it's important as well to look at this. So if you could just 2 minutes about how do you see these areas in the context of your work in your countries. Probably start with you, Syed, and then Alex, and then Edwin.
What we see a lot of opportunities out there, because historically we have not had many success as far as the digital transformation is concerned. We see a lot of opportunities in our government and citizen services, our G2B services. We are bringing in different platforms so that to provide ease of doing business. I think that's the key, that our focus area is that even in this COVID area, our IT exports have shown a very good growth rate. So I think the tech part, the human capital that is available in Pakistan, I think we are also capitalizing on it, and we are making some good use cases for the public and for the investors. So I think investing into the startups and tech startups which are based on our human capital, I think that's a good area where anyone can come in and capitalize. There's a good business case for them.
Fantastic, and I think it's very sharp, and I think this is key for any investor, because the first thing they want is exactly that, and I think that is the most important thing, because if you don't feel confident about doing business in a country, you run away, and I think that is key. Alex, from your side in Ukraine, you are on mute, sorry.
Yeah, I'm back. So our vision is to, like if we speak in terms of investors, our vision is to create in Ukraine the most powerful IT hub in Eastern Europe. I think we have all the capabilities. We have brilliant mind, and Ukraine is famous for resolving complex tasks. We're smaller from human capital perspective rather than Pakistan, for example, but we definitely have experience in resolving most complex tasks from IT and digital area. So this is our vision, and we do our best to give this perspective for people around the world, and building all the ecosystem, including startup ecosystem, venture funding ecosystem, in order to be compliant with that vision. So that will be short.
Yeah, and I want to highlight, I think you mentioned a very good point, that I think one of the notes I have from your presentation is that the percentage of the IT part of the economy is very small, which I thought would be much bigger. And I think this is something that just shows the opportunities and the challenge we have, because in the end of the day, we look at the biggest corporations on the planet are technology companies, but our economy, especially our countries, are still not technological. So it's a big opportunity, and I think it's a great point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good, and I think it's a great element. Edwin, from your experience with the countries, and I think I know that you've been working probably with 20 or 50 countries or more. I think there is probably some frames, or I don't know, depends on the countries, but I know that especially from the corporate element, what it would be like, and as well, for instance, if you look at China, in the last 10 years, China became one of the most advanced economies, probably the most advanced economy and most advanced technology. And it was in the space of 10 years. And 10 years ago or 15, they were a very poor country. So from a GDP and so forth. So things are possible to do. Of course, there's different ways of doing it. And I don't want to go to the geopolitics, but just from a perspective of digital transformation on the positive side, what would be the highlights to summarize?
Well, there's a few things to say about this. I think the easiest one is it starts with a vision and having a team of people that are able to execute on that vision. If that's not in place, it really doesn't make sense at all. In case of governments, or in case of countries, let's talk about countries, not so much about governments. In case of countries, it has to be a vision that covers the country border to border and maybe even cross-border. So the role of a country in relationship to the continent, perhaps, that it is part of, or neighboring countries. Just like one smart city is not a smart city, it's a network of smart cities that does it. I think one smart nation is not a nation. It's a smart nation in relationship to other connected nations. So leadership, an executive team that has the ability to execute on the vision. Secondly, I think you need to find strong, not only technology, but different forms of partnerships that can further accelerate this journey that you're embarking on. You need to find a good funding and financing baseline, and you have to start. So what to do and what to do first, start small, but think big. Advertise every small step as if it is the biggest thing ever achieved, because that creates the awareness and the willingness for people around it to be part of it. As I mentioned earlier, it is for people, it is for the society. If you're forgetting about them in the beginning, it doesn't mean that it is all ending. You are able to get them on board again, as long as you advertise your success and show the value of everything that you do for society, because that's what it is for. Doing better what you already do best, I think, is the best way to repeat it.
So a great way to wrap up. So I want to thank you, all of you, for your participation and the fantastic insights. And actually, I think it shows as well that all of your countries and representatives are really doing a fantastic work. And I know sometimes we things going on, and I think that's what I at least that's what I tell my team and the people I work with. We need to focus on that. So congratulations to all the work. I know that is not easy as well to do what all of you are doing, and hopefully we're going to be building a bit better world and better nations and better